Okay, here we go. We'll call this committee of the whole meeting to order on May 14th, 2024 at 6:03 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance. Okay, is there anybody who'd like to speak under public participation? Okay, for the record, there is no public participation this evening. First item up on the agenda is item number 4, and that is the request to permit Lincoln Community High School, request for road closures for Homecoming Parade Friday, September 27th, 2024 at 2:30 p.m. Consent agenda, okay. Next up is item number 5. This is the request to permit Carroll Catholic School Field Day, Friday, May 17th, 2024, from 8:20 to 2:30, closure of 100 block of 4th Street. You may have noticed that this is for May 17th. This happens from time to time. Carroll Catholic was not aware of our timelines, and so we're asking if the council can give a nod to this road closure, and then we'll go ahead and vote on it so that we took a vote on the following week. Is there any objections from the council? Okay. Yeah. Okay, next up is item number 6, and that is the Veolia CPI increase. Mr. Bounds.
So yes, this is the annual contractual CPI increase. It was budgeted for in the amount of $1.496 million this year. The actual CPI for the February to February period came in more favorable than the January. So we're actually looking at 1.493 as a total cost this year. Two things in this memo that have changed in prior years is the specific CPI index is listed at the top now. That is the CUUR 0000SEHG01 index provided by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And the Bureau of Labor Statistics, to pull those historical trends, is now listed as resources right above fiscal impact. So that specific index is the water sewer trash index for urban environments, which is what the city of Lincoln qualifies for under the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and that is what our contractual raise is based on each year.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Bounds? Place this on the regular agenda. Okay. Next item is item number 7, sludge grit waste disposal. Mr. Bounds.
So this is a new memo. This is the second time that the council would have seen this memo. The last time I brought it forward was 2 years ago for an approval of $75,000. We finally got close to that limit last year. I have budgeted an amount for both hauling and disposal that totals the $150 listed in the memo presented to you guys tonight. And I'm asking you guys to approve another $150,000 in disposal costs.
Questions for Mr. Bounds? Regular agenda? Okay.
Just a quick question.
Okay. Mr. Parrott?
Does our sludge grit and waste disposal tonnage or whatever it is measured by, is it saying staying mainly the same each year? Is it increasing?
That is entirely dependent on rain events primarily. So in a major rain event, we get inundated with what's known as a first flush condition, and that basically clears your system. Think about the pipes in your neighborhood that are running on average between 5 to 20% full in most of the neighborhoods. Sometimes it's lower, some neighborhoods are higher, but because we have a primarily combined system, it puts a lot more flow through the system. So those first flush conditions contain all of the stuff that settles out in the system and is just static. It sits there, stagnates, so we get a lot of that. So the more rain we have, the more that's generated at the plant.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, we'll place that on the regular agenda. Next is item number 8, blower building Caterpillar generator repair. Mr. Bounds.
So I handed a packet to each one of you that did not make it into the agenda. So we had our annual generator service take place last week. Got a clean bill of health on most things, wear and tear items, belts and whatnot. This generator has a catastrophic failure between last Wednesday when it exercised and when this guy came on site to actually do his testing. So the generator portion of the generator, not the motor, he believes that due to a bearing that is failing, which that we do know, that the rotor and stator touched. So what that causes is that generator can no longer produce voltage. This generator is probably the third most important generator on site out of the 4 generators that we have at the sewer plant. This generator, it being out right now, is not going to cause a backup in someone's home. The generator at the 145 station and the generator at the CSO facility that was installed 2 years ago will ensure that we won't have a backup due to a backlog at the plant of waste coming in. But this generator runs our aeration basin. That's our blowers that actually treat the municipal waste that comes in and turn it into an acceptable product per the NPDES permit, which we discharge to Salt Creek. So this one being out, my current estimate would be that if we were to have a utility outage where Ameren could not provide us power for a 12-hour period, we would potentially be in violation of our NPDES permit. So it is a critical component of the operations at the plant. The question that I have for you as council members tonight is, what you have in your packet is a repair cost of roughly $47,000. So I would ask for approval if we move forward with that option of roughly $51,000, which would be a 10% margin of error until they open up the generator end. It's just everyone's best guess on what it would cost. This is a 20-year-old unit that has a little bit over 5,000 hours on it. The packet that I put in front of you guys has the option for purchasing 2 brand new generators, not placing them in. Because of how convoluted this process is, we have to work with electricians and integration specialists as well as just a manufacturer of the generator. So I do not have a fully fledged bid quote estimate for the purchase and installation of a brand new unit. But if you flip to the back page in the packet that I passed out to you guys, item number 2 is a generator that is available right now. That is a cost for the generator of $157,420. That is, we could have it within a couple weeks. It's also oversized for what we need. The generator above that, there are none currently available, and we are looking at a lead time of up to 30 weeks to receive it, but it has a cost of $109,000. Keep in mind, both of these costs are just generator purchases, and they do not take into account our Sourcewell discount. So Caterpillar is a Sourcewell provider or a Sourcewell partner, and verbally, we're looking at a 30% discount on cost of purchase. That does not include installation. I would have to get a bid from an electrical contractor, and I would have to get a bid from an integration contractor to integrate it with SCADA, basically the computer that helps it run and the rest of the accoutrements that it's tied to. So what I'm kind of looking from you guys is we could purchase an oversized one that my guess total cost ends up somewhere in the neighborhood of $180,000, not including the Sourcewell discount, get it right away, or we could order the generator listed above that for a significant cost difference. I'm just looking for direction on where you guys want to go. I can tell you that the current generator with the $47,000 repair estimate, 20 years old, 5,000 hours. 5,000 hours may sound like a lot for a motor. It is not a crazy number for a generator or for a piece of equipment like this.
Ms. Rolfs?
This is not. This was a failure that was absolutely learned about towards the end of last week.
Okay, so the money that we would look
It will
at,
still come out of the sewer budget. There is a project that I had planned at the Palmer Street lift station that regardless of what option we move forward with, that project would just have to be delayed another year. And I don't know that that project would have to be delayed. We don't have bids. We just have a budget number in there for it right now. But I'm not asking for any extra appropriations to complete any one of these three options.
Mr. Reimer?
How much money do you have for, you see this Palmer Street lift station, so how much money do you have on hand if we went with one of these three? I mean, you got enough for even the new one, the 157,000?
So for the Palmer Street project, that is a budget number of $200,000.
So you could use that and it won't hurt the operations of the Palmer Street?
Palmer Street needs the electrical upgrade over there. That is just the budget number in there. I can't tell you where a contractor's gonna come back with a number. So that's what we have for the budget.
I mean, do we need to do that right away, I guess is what I'm asking?
We have probably needed to do it for quite a few years. I do not think it will be catastrophic to push it off another year.
We could have a little leeway if we need.
We could. If we are to move forward with any of these options, out of what I have budgeted within the sewer budget this year, that would be my preference for the project to delay or alter.
So you run the risk of getting the lower power generator and waiting 30 weeks and having an issue.
So, with that, if I were to get an inkling that we were going to be without power from the utility for greater than a 12-hour period, I would have to move forward with emergency operations and in calling multiple electric vendors, contractors, generator providers to try to get something up and going as absolute quick as we could.
Well, what,
It
do you
potentially-
know what the estimated daily cost to run a generator that would supply that would be?
For this, a daily cost, I can give you a guess right now. I
Everything's
am
a
not going to
guesstimate.
stand behind that number. I'm guessing in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $4,000 per day.
Per day. Mr. Officer?
if we didn't get this now, would the cost possibly even go up then if we waited another year?
So I can
purchase that.
almost guarantee that the cost would go up. I don't believe the council should look at this as an optional cost. You have to pick one of these three options. It is the repair, the replacement with a delayed timeline, or the replacement with an oversized generator that is available currently.
Mr. Conzo, Mr. Bateman, and then Mr. Barrett.
Yes, Mr. Bounds, so the only difference in this cost, only reason to take the higher cost is that we would have that sooner, right? There's no other.
There is no other benefit. It's actually going to be a long-term, it's going to use more fuel. It's an oversized generator. An oversized generator doesn't make it more efficient. We're still only going to use the kilowatt demand that we need to run.
So we have no way of knowing how long the current one's going to hold up, though, do we? I mean,
The current one is non-functional.
it's completely not.
It's offline.
It is non-functional.
Mr. Bateman?
My concern is the supply chain issues with the new one. They're giving him an estimate of 30 months.
30 weeks.
30 weeks, and it could go out to 30 months because it's just the supply chain problem is still very real in the U.S. and it's not getting any better.
Mr. Parrott?
Is there any other vendors of generators that, I mean, we'd have to put this out? Don't we have to put this out for bid or anything like that? I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Cat.
So I love Cat too. They work, they're dependable. This generator hasn't had a catastrophic failure like this in the last 20 years. With them being a Sourcewell provider, I do not believe that we have to put this out to bid because we are already a partner with the Sourcewell program.
Mr. Reimer?
If we decided to repair the one we got, and this is kind of a loaded question, do you kind of know how long you think we could get out of it if we just repaired it and did that? I mean, I know that's just a guess, but you think we get another 10 years or so?
It's absolutely possible, and I'm afraid that if I tell you guys to move forward with the repair, and I'm not telling you not to either, it could have another catastrophic failure the next week.
But for the most part, it's pretty good shape.
It has been absolutely reliable, yes.
Mr. Parrott?
So what about getting it repaired for almost the same cost, and then getting the item number one? You know, we can get it repaired, and then we order item number one, and wait 30 weeks for it, and just switch them out. It's the same, basically the same money, right?
So if we were to do that, I'm not averse to that line of thinking. If we move forward with the repair, I think it would be better if we were going to move forward with the replacement after the repair, to stage that so the cost was guaranteed to hit next year's budget. And that way it could be planned for, and we would only have 47 or the 51 I would ask for the repair cost to be approved.
I think that's what Steve's asking. If you add the repair to the price of the cheaper generator, we're at the price of the more expensive generator we can get right away.
Correct.
So if we repair it, then you're able to push off purchasing the new generator another year.
The cost will likely go up, correct?
Correct.
Well,
I-
he can put it on order. It's
Or
not going to be here.
Yeah, just order it for the same cost.
Keep the old one somewhere as a backup? Once we repair it, can it sit somewhere as a backup?
It absolutely can. Unfortunately, all of our other sites that could use a generator of that size, think the Palmer Streets, the Union Streets, a generator with that kilowatt demand, already have them. It would be better than the generator at Palmer Street right now. So, yeah,
Then I'm pushing for repair this one and
leaving it in storage would be
order
a
the
bad
new
idea.
one.
We would either surplus it and
Okay.
it's one of those two. Putting mothballing it for an extended period of time would not be
Okay,
ideal.
so it sounds like the council is in agreement that with Mr. Parrott's proposal to do the repair and then order the 450.
How much do we pay for ordering it? Do we not pay for it till it gets here?
I would love to be able to provide you with a very hard answer there. I do not believe we will have to pay up front. We will have to sign documentation. So when we got our excavator, we had to sign documentation, putting a hold on it. Yes, we'll pay for it when it comes in. Once that was approved, I don't foresee this would work any different. We're not going to have to put cash on the barrel to get it ordered. I can't see that happening, but I can't tell you that with 100% certainty.
Can you then give
I can verify that before the voting session.
Can you then give a specified date that we'd like to receive the new one?
That we should be able to
The
do.
reason I ask that is because it could come in February or March of next year, which is not into our next year's budget yet.
No, we could definitely work on getting that stage so it showed up at the beginning of next year's budget year and could be an accrued cost.
And you can have that information next week.
I can have most of that information next week. Install costs on the new generator, I'm going to have to work with electrical contractors, same as the integration specialists.
What is the anticipated timeline for the repair?
A couple weeks.
Okay. Do you need anything else from the council on this?
No, the way I'm taking this, please correct me if I'm wrong. We're going to move forward with the repair and move forward with item number 1 on the proposal that I physically handed to
And
you just to pay for it from next budget year.
And I think where Mr. Bounds is going with this is he'd like to go ahead and get that repair scheduled to get it done sooner.
So if you are all in agreement based on that statement, I would very much like to call them in the morning and tell them to schedule this repair. Do any of you have any issues with doing that?
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and place that on the regular agenda. Okay, next up is item number 9, ordinance 1-28 of the Lincoln City Code titled Code Enforcement Officer. Mr. Hoblet.
Council, you have a ordinance before you for the creation of the code enforcement officer. If you recall, Mr. Meister spoke to you guys in an earlier council meeting about budgeting for a new officer who wouldn't be a police officer per se, would be more like a community officer, in which case they would be out there enforcing the city ordinances, and they would be an arm not only for the police department, but also for building and safety that Mr. Woodhull could also utilize in the enforcement of said ordinances. I believe the idea was that we would use a recently retired officer who has experience engaging with the public, especially in times when engaging in the public might be a confrontational or potentially heightened situation. Not everyone likes being their door knocked on for ordinance violations, as it turns out. Be that as it may, it is necessary to have a code enforcement officer. I believe at one point in time in the past, we already had a code enforcement officer. We also had a city inspector, and I believe those were consolidated into the building and safety official. So I wanted to ensure that when we recreate the code enforcement officer, that we're not either peeling responsibilities away from Mr. Woodhull, or that we're making it redundant if there is a reference in the city code saying that any reference to the code enforcement officer refers to Mr. Woodhull's position. To that extent, I have created an ordinance of 1-28 code enforcement officer, but I also amended 1-18-4. And in case there's any confusion, that is building and safety official, their responsibilities. So I to change it to be the current code enforcement officer, so they both share some responsibilities, as in they can both enforce the city code of the city of Lincoln. So that is what you have before you. Again, I believe this was a result of an earlier conversation. The money's been budgeted for it now, and we would like to set responsibilities in place for that respective person in the code.
Questions from the council? Mr. Reimer.
So does this new position means he goes out and writes tickets?
They'll write certain tickets. So they'll be able to, like I say, enforce certain, parking violations, city ordinances that they do observe, that people are committing. They could also engage with people with the trash issues that they might have, to engage with them there as well. Nuisance properties, and to assist Mr. Woodhull as well when there probably needs to be engagement of some sort with homeowners, just to have another person there in case that is necessary. So it is supposed to be not replacing, but enhance. There we go, Mr. Bain. That's the word, enhancing. It's an additional tool in our tool set, so to speak. This position, this is not uncommon to see in other communities. It seems to be they always carve out a part-time officer who was a recently retired police officer to do this. Now, keep in mind, this officer will not be able to do everything that Mr. Woodhull can do, because there will be certain things that Mr. Woodhull can do, responsibilities that he will have that this officer will not have. But again, this is an additional tool and to try to engage enforcement of our ordinances.
How many, do we ever determine how many hours a week this person will work?
I believe that's a question for Mr. Meister.
Yeah, because this individual will fall under the purview of the police department.
We plan for,
Is it under his budget then?
It'll fall under Chief Meister's budget,
yeah,
yes.
it's already in the police department budget for the salary. This person would be 3 days a week, so I think that equals up to 1,248 hours a year.
Ms. McClellan.
Just to clarify, under responsibilities, the building and safety official will be responsible for all duties of the former office of the city inspector and the current code enforcement officer. So you're not saying that the current code enforcement officer will report to the building and safety official there under responsibilities. But what you're doing is, if I understand, you're eliminating the former language about
Yeah, the one
the
in.
city inspector and yeah, could you explain that to me again? You explained it to me once, but I just,
So if you don't change the language of the building and safety official in 1-18-4, you can make an argument that you've actually created no position, because 1-18-4 that says every reference to code enforcement officer refers to me, to Mr. Woodhull. So in fact, you've created nothing. So, but you just added language. Or you could say, or you can make a different argument saying, well, this is a new position. And so therefore, Mr. Woodhull has no ability to enforce the code ordinances at this point, because now we've extracted that from him. So I was trying to not create confusion within our city code. And so that's why I changed it from former to current, and just put a catch-all within there that really just saying that, the responsibility of the code enforcement officer as in enforcing the code of enforcing the city codes of the city of Lincoln remain within both purview. That's the logic I was trying to utilize there.
Any other questions? Ms. Rolfs and then Ms. Bateman.
Does this code, excuse me, does this code mean that we will even be looking at the sign ordinance with these things?
That's where a lot of this conversation started, was that the sign ordinances, trailers parking on streets, things like that were requiring an officer to do, especially in a time when we're understaffed and overworked, could assist and fill that gap. So that was the intention. Mr. Meister, Chief Meister.
Just to explain, there's no limitation on what code can be enforced by this person. This employee would have the authority to enforce all of the city code. The only difference between the code enforcement officer and a sworn police officer is that the code enforcement officer won't have arrest authority, custodial physical arrest authorities, citations, and things of that nature. Providing reports to the city attorney will be that person's responsibility.
Thank you.
Hold on, Ms. Bateman, and Mr. Hoblet and Mr. Parrott.
I just have a question for city attorney. In your ordinance, you have bond and oath that they shall furnish a surety bond in the amount of $5,000 the city would pay for. Is that just
Yeah, that's, to be honest, that if you look to all of our
they're
city
in there.
code, they're in there, but I don't know very many that do.
Well, with our insurance, we're all the city employees are covered, are bonded through our insurance, and that's just happened in the past, I don't know, 4 years or so.
Do you believe the amount to be a little high?
What, the 5,000?
5,000, yeah.
No, I was just questioning that they have to provide it and the city's paying for it. If he's going to be bonded anyway, does he need to have this also? Like, that's my question. But like you said, all the ordinance kind of say that, even though
Right.
they don't have a separate bond.
Yeah, I understand. I understand that. I that was literally put in there because it seems like everybody else was on every other one.
Yeah, and there are.
But I don't really know how often these people actually get bonded themselves. So
are you proposing the removal of 1-28-3?
No, because like John said, all our ordinance says that. And I'm sure Mr. Meister will probably say some of your officers probably do their own bonding on their own.
Actually, many police officers have a policy just in case of civil liability.
Right.
Usually it's like a rider on the homeowner's insurance.
But no, I'm not saying to remove it because it is
Right.
basically they're all the same if he's
Consistent.
following suit.
Yeah.
And who's to someday maybe, it won't be covered under our insurance. It'll go back the old way. So who knows?
Okay. Mr. Hoblet?
I was just going to indicate, I spoke earlier about
Mr. Woodhull and the code enforcement officer having certain responsibilities, and Chief Meister indicated that they would have the authority to enforce all city ordinances. That's actually accurate. They will have authority to enforce all city ordinances. There's just the violation levels would differ between Mr. Woodhull and the code enforcement officer. So that's probably an important clarification to make note of. Yeah.
Mr. Parrott?
Will there be a specific uniform that this individual will be wearing, and would he have he or she, I believe, would have a badge and or a service weapon or anything?
Well, the question on whether or not the code enforcement officer will be armed is a common question I've been asked many times. In this circumstance, the employee I plan to continue to employ is a certified police officer so he's certified to carry a weapon. But I don't want to limit our ability to hire a replacement if he should choose to move on to only being a certified police officer, because that's really going to put the restraints on us as far as who is eligible for that position. As far as the uniform goes, we have money in our budget for uniforms. It won't be the same uniform that a sworn police officer wears. We already have a vehicle that we plan to use, and we're likely going to mark it with a different marking that declares that it's a code enforcement vehicle, not a police vehicle. Because I don't want the public to get confused and see a police car drive by if there's an emergency happening and that police car not stop, because that would look terrible. So, yeah, there are plans in place to supply the person with uniforms and equipment.
Ms. McClellan?
I think my question was answered concerning the bonding, because this is an appointed position, but they're still considered an employee and covered under the insurance. Okay.
Mr. Downs?
Body camera?
It's not required by state law. It's not a police officer.
Yeah. Do you think they would need one? Would you like one? I mean, I feel
could
it's
supply 'em
it's
with
like
one if we-
covering us, protecting us more than anything.
I don't have a problem with them wearing one. Well, I personally love the body cameras. I think they're great. It's just they come at a cost, and if we don't have enough to supply the code enforcement, he'd be the last one to get
I
one.
get that. I was just asking. Okay.
Yeah,
But I'll
no,
just-
it's a good idea.
I'm saying if it's available, I really like the idea. Even if he's armed or not armed, we've had plenty of conversations. Those video trumps he said, she said all day long. So I think a body camera, if you don't have the money, maybe we should see what it costs and pony up a little extra.
Yeah, but I have enough to supply that person with a body camera at this point. It's just in the future, if we become fully staffed or if we have breakage and things like that, we may need to look into buying another one.
I'm going to propose a question to the council. Why don't we ask Mr. Woodhull and Miss Ingram to wear a body cam then? They're doing the exact same job. Or city attorney will tell us. Go ahead.
These are property violations. So the violation is the property itself for Mr. Woodhull and from what they observe. So it's literally static pictures is all you need. And we're proving these cases when they go to court via preponderance of the evidence. So it's not beyond a reasonable doubt. So literally the statements from a property owner are not relevant. What's relevant is the condition of the property. So if there's trash on the property or whatnot, things of that nature, the property is dilapidated, is clearly observable. A static picture from a camera is all you need. Now, if
And why do we have to have the new individual wear a
Well,
body cam?
I don't know, to be honest with you.
That was my question.
I'm not forcing him to. I'm asking if we have one and he doesn't mind wearing one. I would really prefer he did.
It can decrease liability. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead, Chief.
It absolutely decreases liability. Since we got the body cameras, I'm going to say that we saved the city thousands upon thousands of dollars, not only in potential lawsuits that were never brought against us because of false claims, but also in time spent by the deputy chief and I or a detective conducting an internal investigation into a complaint. In the days of he said, she said, you had to investigate every one of them fully, and that could take you weeks, if not longer, depending on how serious the allegation was. Whereas now, oftentimes, I can watch a 20-minute video and determine whether or not there should be a full-fledged investigation.
I just think if we feel that this is important for the new individual, it should be an offer that's extended to the individuals that have been doing it, because they're dealing with the same level of aggravation from the people that they speak with. The role's no different depending on who's doing it.
I agree, and one of the purposes behind this position, or at least in my mind, was to alleviate some of the requirements of Wes and his employees. So he doesn't have to go out and meet with somebody who may not be the nicest individual and deal with that, and let that fall on at least somebody who's has some training and experience to deal with fighters and stuff like that.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Okay. So place this on the regular agenda. Okay. Place number 9 on the regular agenda. Next up is item number 10, new landfill attendance building. Mr. Landers.
Yes, the existing attendance building at the landscape waste facility is in poor condition, and we would like to replace it. There is some leaking and some things where the water damage has ate away at the structure. We would like to get a larger building, so maybe we can add some more amenities to make the attendants a little more comfortable, since they do spend a lot of time out there in the building. And reconfigure it a little bit to work, so it'll work out better for them also.
Mr. Bateman.
So I'm the one that kind of pushed for this after a lot of people got a hold of me about the building that's out there. I foresee, and I've asked, the amenities Mr. Landers is talking about is I want indoor plumbing for those individuals. They've got an outhouse out back that looks terrible and they have to use it, and I think we at least owe them some indoor plumbing to use. I've suggested maybe if we can get internet there, those kind of things, so that they have some amenities. We don't, these are our lowest paid employees, and I think we can, for a little bit of money, we can at least make their life a little bit more tolerable, especially during the summer and winter months.
Ms. Rouse.
If you have indoor plumbing, then we have to have the access to that. Is that available? Or would we have to run pipes and?
That's already been discussed. Mr. Bounds.
So there is no current sewer aperture out there. We would put in a holding tank and pump it on an as-needed basis. So we wouldn't be looking at a septic system. We would just be looking at a holding tank. Think your gray, black water tanks on your RV. Appropriate for this installation.
We would have to make a water connection from Illinois American Water, and then that's where the water supply would come from.
So, how much would this increase the $9,598?
I actually have in the budget of $15,000. So an additional 5,000, a little more than 5,000 left because we still have to. The building comes with spray insulation in the floor, so we still have to equip it with electricity and insulate the building itself. So, and we're looking at adding a mini split heater air conditioner also. Currently it runs off a window unit. So, and we've figured that into the budget, and we have those funds also sitting there for it.
Pretty fancy outhouse then, isn't it?
Yes.
Mr. Downs, and then Mr. Conzo.
I was going to ask about AC, but Walt just kind of answered it. So thank you all.
Mr. Conzo.
I can understand the plumbing and even the air conditioning, but why in the world do we need to have internet at a landfill building?
Well, for a lot of things, they could actually have right now they're jotting things down on a piece of paper. We could add some, reporting for them. Several uses. I mean, the internet is next to nothing, Chuck. It's,
Well,
I think Mr. Landers would like to weigh in on that.
A part of that is it allows us a way to screen people using the facility by using a scanner. If we have an email, or not an email, but we do have internet accessibility, we can actually use a scanner to scan driver's licenses as they come in and keep a better track of the people using the facility and numbers and just different data that we can keep track of better if we have those abilities.
Any other questions?
So would there
Mr. Rolfs?
would there be access at night when nobody's around for somebody to go in there and use the facility?
Well, if somebody wants to get in there, they're going to get in there. You're not going to stop them. As a matter of fact, we don't
Okay,
even
it's
lock.
behind the gate, though.
We don't even lock the one that's there now because if somebody wants to break in there, they're going to get in there.
Well, yeah, but that's a little bit different. Somebody could live in it overnight. If you've got heat and everything in there.
And then Chief Meister would get a call the following day. Okay, any other questions? Place this on the regular agenda? Ms. Rolfs?
This is now 15,000?
No, he's saying that the bid that's in the packet is the 9,598, but he budgeted 15 to account for the split air system and the electrical and then.
Additional amenities.
Yeah,
Basically.
the additional amenities.
So do we have to include that in our vote or just leave it?
Well,
Yeah.
that's a very good point.
I
Would
mean,
you like,
basically, that would be under my spending limit. So as we do the work, that I would be able to pay for that
okay,
without because my spending limit is each unit, each item's going to be a different price. So it would be under that spending threshold that the council has to approve. But no difference to me paying another bill.
Okay, so we don't need that clearly explained in this?
I mean,
I wouldn't think so. No.
if you don't have to, but if it would make you feel better, you can do a not to exceed 15,000
for the total
total
project.
amount. That's what's budgeted.
Okay, I would feel better doing that.
I don't know for sure that we will get everything done for that because they were all, when we put this together, they were all rough estimates, but we think we should have enough.
And I'm just looking more at protection for what he's gonna be doing since he's gonna, and not freelancing, I don't wanna say that, but you're gonna be doing that, not getting a plumber and this, that, and the other with some of that, right?
Basically, most of this work will be done ourselves,
Yeah.
with street department staff or
That
the
kind of
sewer
stuff.
department staff.
All right, so can we place that on the agenda as a not to exceed 15,000? Ms. Bateman? Okay. All right, so we'll place item number 10 on the agenda with a not to exceed $15,000 price limit. Okay, next one is item number 11, resolution 2024-2025 draft motor fuel tax maintenance program. Mr. Landers?
Each year, the city has to approve this resolution for the expenditures of MFT money. So this basically pays for different things, different jobs that the city does, the staff do over the year. It also helps pay for engineering costs, labor, maintenance, materials, and construction of roadways and sidewalks and curbs and gutters. And we have to have this resolution to be able to expend the money from the MFT, and that's the purpose of it.
Questions? Place it on the regular agenda? Okay. Place item number 11 on the regular agenda. Next up is item number 12, purchase of a Hustler Super Z commercial mower. Mr. Landers?
Yes, we're in the need to replace one of our riding mowers, or at least put it on the second line. We can keep it as a backup mower, but it's had its day, and it's costing us some money in repairs. So we'd like to replace it. And the cost of the new one's configured a little bit differently. The one we're replacing has a 72-inch deck, and we've kind of figured out that does not fit well for what we do with it. It causes other issues while mowing, and then plus some maintenance and repair issues just because of the size of the deck and the weight. So we would like to replace it with a 60-inch deck Hustler mower, and that would come from B's Cub Cadet here in Lincoln.
Mr. Ryman?
$15,832. $15,832.
Other questions?
The list price on the mower, because this is a Sourcewell contract also, like Mr. Bounds mentioned earlier. The list price for the MSRP is $21,688 for the mower.
Savings. Okay, so place this on the regular agenda. Okay, we'll place item number 12 on the regular agenda. Next up is item number 13, annexation of property owned by Lincoln Industrial Park. Mr. Hoblet.
Council, I put forth an agenda packet before you in regards to the annexation of a piece of land that is going to be, I believe, a senior living facility, independent senior living facility, 55 and up, approximately a 60-unit complex will be built there. They're asking for the property to be annexed into the city of Lincoln. The request comes from the Lincoln Industrial Park. That request has been signed off by Doug Muck with the Lincoln Industrial Park. So as I understand it, the property purchase of that, because I believe of certain requirements of the state of Illinois with the grants and whatnot, has to be done after the annexation. Mr. Mann is on the Zoom call, as you can see. He was here back in January of 2023 or December of 2022, to explain the what the project and what they're looking at. I believe at the time they indicated they would need approximately 6 months. It took a little bit longer, obviously, in order to get to where they are right now. But there was a vote at that period of time where you guys voted your support for this respective project. And we are now at the stage for the annexation. On my end, the annexation, as I indicated, has been executed by Mr. Muck, the request, which I will include in the agenda packet for next week. Also the certifications or the certified letters went out to the Fire District Library Board and the respective township, which is all statutorily required. So all the respective notices came out. This is an annexation that is quote unquote voluntary. Only one property owner, farm owner, it's Lincoln Industrial Park, is farmland. So there is no court proceedings or public hearings that need to be affixed in regards to this particular one. So Mr. Mann is here in case you guys have any questions about the project and about the annexation itself.
Mr. Parrott. And we're having a little technical issue, so if everybody could speak up so Mr. Mann could hear you, that'd be great.
Would annexing this property cost the city any funds, any financial impact to the city as far as providing sewer, water, or anything of that nature?
I believe from where they are, they're going to tap in.
It'll be part of the project.
Yep.
Thank you.
By the hospital.
Behind Walmart.
Mr. Mann, can you speak as to exactly where you're going to be?
Mr. Mann, can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me all right?
We can.
Yep. So we're going to be right next to, I believe it's called the Plowshare Homes on Castle Manor Drive.
Plowfield.
And we'll be accessing existing utilities.
Correct.
So I don't believe that it will cost the city anything in terms of infrastructure. We're accessing an existing road, existing sewer lines, and all of those things. I think it's pretty self-contained development there, just on the south side of the road, infilling that stretch next to those townhomes.
So that would be what he's indicating is accurate. It's not uncommon when you're annexing a piece of property that there is a development agreement. There's a annexation agreement with a development agreement. If we were annexing in that whole farm, that would probably be a bit more relevant. But we're not. We're only annexing in this small piece. Okay. Because the annexation agreement would be with, like say, with the Lincoln Industrial Park of the whole parcel. There would be things along the lines as the property gets developed, it'll be rezoned and you'll be not taxed. None of those things are relevant here. Okay. As he indicated, he's going to be tapping into existing lines that will be, I believe his property will be abutting. So.
Mr. Bateman.
So I see you got a retention pond. I'm assuming, since Mr. Bounds is here, by asphalting more grass and the roof structures of these buildings, we are making stormwater runoff to the retention pond and not to the roadway, so it ends up in the city sewer plant?
Yes, sir. And our building permit is under review. We'll be complying with all of the typical code and building requirements, including stormwater. We have a plan in place. I'm not an expert on how it works, but our civil engineer has, designed it so that the stormwater is contained on site or detained on site prior to exiting through the municipal system.
Mr. Parrott.
Can you explain your customers or your residents are going to be living there? These are 55 and older individuals, like a retirement home, or can you just explain your business again?
It's not a retirement home. Many of our residents are still working. It is designated for 55 and up. We have mostly one bedrooms with a few two bedrooms, anticipating, smaller sizes. Of families, sort of maybe couples still, but not what we think of as like a nuclear family with kids still living at home. And so the target is both working and retired older individuals, but it is completely independent living. This is not an assisted living facility or a nursing home. We don't provide any care for the residents in that way. It's just targeted at an older demographic.
Ms. McClellan.
And so it's about 10 acres, correct? How much of that will be green space? Will there be any?
It's under 5 acres. I want to say we're at 4.6, but please don't quote me on that exactly. I know that it is less than 5 acres and just over 4.5. So it's right in that range. And I don't know the green space off the top of my head. I do know that there is a building code requirement related to open space, and we exceeded that for our planned development. So no exceptions were needed to the code to make that happen. But because of that, I don't have those numbers right off the top of my head.
It looks to be, from the drawing that's in the packet, I would say it's 60-40, might be closer to 50-50, the property had been developed.
Yep, and I do know when we reviewed it for the planned development zoning meeting, I know that we reviewed the open space. And again, I don't remember the exact requirement or what there are, but I can certainly follow up with that. I know that we did not need a variance of any kind, and so it does comply with the zoning.
Any other questions? Mr. Burwell, you got anything to add? Okay. Place this on the regular agenda. Ms. Rolfs? Look like you have a question.
I think the only thing I have is, which I'm sure they've taken into consideration, that is so close to the hospital and the helicopter landing and all that, that they will take a lot of precaution to make sure that that roadway is open at all times when they're in the building process then.
Okay. Mr.
Absolutely.
Downs?
I have one more dumb question. I'm looking at the map right now. So this structure is going to go directly behind Walmart. This soccer field, I believe, is directly behind that plow field.
It's not as
No.
No, it's,
By
so it's
plow
not
field.
behind Walmart, you know where them.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the
It's-
soccer field, so this structure won't interfere with the soccer field.
No, this,
Correct,
this
that's all I need to know.
actually
It's to
is
the right of the
more
plow field.
east of Walmart, next to the apartments that are already there.
Directly
Past
east
Plowfield.
of, it's directly east of Plowfield. It's the southwest corner of Castle Manor and Stall Hut.
Okay.
That's
You,
why I
you know the new road that goes behind the hospital and you can make the turn to go to
yeah,
Walmart?
I go there all the
It's-
time.
It's that cornfield right there.
I think,
Yeah.
I think most people just said behind Walmart because everybody knows where Walmart is and it's in that vicinity, but.
I
yeah.
know
It's the
all the
street from
stuff
the
back there
helicopter
kind of
pad.
blends together.
Yeah, I
Okay,
couldn't
thank
figure out
you.
why they said behind Walmart either, because it's way over.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's in that vicinity. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, place it on the regular agenda?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Mr. Mann, thank you for dialing in.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening. Okay, next up, I've got a couple items that didn't make it on the agenda that I need to get added, and those are the advice and consent to the mayoral appointments of department heads. So I'll go down through each one of these because there's 4. The first one is the advise and consent to the mayoral appointment of Joe Meister as chief of police. I'd like to place that on the regular agenda.
Yeah.
Okay. The advise and consent to the mayoral appointment of Aaron Johnson as fire chief.
Regular agenda.
The advice and consent to the mayoral appointment of Walt Landers as street superintendent.
Regular agenda.
And the advice and consent to the mayoral appointment of Wes Woodhull as building and safety inspector.
Regular agenda.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that brings us down to announcements. I've got a couple, and I'll open it up to the floor. First announcement is there is a ribbon cut on Saturday, May 18th at 9 a.m. And that is for the LaForge Automotive Service and Tires. They're opening at 929 South Kickapoo, which is the former location of Sharon's Auto Repair at the end of Kickapoo Street out near the wastewater treatment plant. And then the second item that I've got is I want to remind people that there is a Facebook Live event tomorrow, and that is going to be at 6:30 p.m. And this is in regards to the effort to save the Logan Correctional Center. On that live call will be Senator Sally Turner, Representative Bill Howder, Chairwoman Emily Davenport from the Logan County Board, myself, and Andrea Runge from LEAD. So we're going to share all of the information that we have at this time and then tell people how they can submit questions and request to appear for the COGFA hearings that's going to happen. I won't get into it. It'll all be on the live stream tomorrow. We're going to use some technology that we believe will enable us to also stream it not only from Sally's page, but to each other page, county board, the city Facebook page, and others. So if you get an alert that there's a city event going on or a live stream, that's what that is. But we still would like everybody to dial in and hear what we have to say and share. Certainly not the end of this fight. I think we're kind of in the beginning. Myself and that group of people I just spoke with, we actually went down to Springfield for a COGFA hearing on Friday, and that was the opportunity for Department of Corrections to present their recommendation to that committee. And the union also was able to speak. Their leadership spoke as well. I think that the hearing went very well. There was a lot of good information proposed, and I think the committee, at least in my opinion, understands the importance of keeping that facility here at Logan and asked a lot of tough questions. And I believe that's available for review. So if I can locate that, I'll put it on the city Facebook page as well. So, and if you have not signed up, there is a Facebook page for Save Logan Correctional Center. So you can get updates through there. And I know that there's still the yard sign campaign as well. So Lincoln Printers is printing them off. They're $10 a piece if you'd like a yard sign. All we would ask is that if you get the yard signs, please try to put them in the on your personal property and not the city right away. Just a request because that's an ordinance. Otherwise, they have our full support. So that's all I have. Does anybody else have an announcement they'd like to make? Mr. Bateman.
So, those of you that don't know, Rhonda frequents the racetrack also. They haven't had a single race yet this year. Matter of fact, a lot of races across the state and the nation have been rained out. Unfortunately, it rains on Fridays and Saturdays. So, Wednesday night, a lot of campers showed up in town because Spoon River got rained out. Don't know if anybody saw that on Facebook, but that's why there was probably 100 campers out at the fairgrounds spending money in town. So, much to the ado, the Thursday night race got rained out. So Adam did his magic, worked with the TV crew because this was the televised race on the Flow Racing Network. This is the group of individuals that travel the country, hundreds of racers. So I'm asking the council to just give a head nod, hopefully, that the makeup date for that Thursday night race is July 8th. That is a Monday night, so there will not be any school. They're not asking for any additional time or anything, just moving what we already approved for that Thursday to the Monday, July 8th. And hopefully it doesn't get rained out, because that's the next time that this entire group is coming around to this section. So if it's okay with the council, that's what the Speedway would like to do, is schedule it for July 8th, and hopefully we can get some better weather. They do have a race again this Friday night, but that one Thursday was the $20,000 to win televised race, so that was the big one.
Any concerns from the council?
Do we have to vote on it since we voted on the calendar before?
As long as the council can give a nod to it, I think we're okay.
They tried their best. We got the text message maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes before they were supposed to start racing. The track looked great right up to the point that it poured for no apparent reason. But and it's dirt, so yeah, I'm sure they'll all appreciate it that to schedule this on July 8th. That's a Monday again, no school, so, and no additional ask at this point. Just put it on the schedule for that day.
Okay. Also, thank you, Mr. Hoblet, for reminding me. This Friday is our first Third Friday event of the season, and it is in downtown. Starts at 5:30 p.m. It goes till 8:30 p.m. The band is the Aristocats. It's yeah, they were really good when they played last year. So everybody come out, enjoy Third Fridays, and yeah. Okay. Any other announcements, Mr. Downs?
Hey, so I wanted to invite the community. Taylor Lyon, amongst some of her friends, wanted to do something good in the community, so she organized a town-wide roadside trash pickup. If you'd like to participate, you can meet at Latham Park at 9 a.m. on Saturday, May 18th, at Latham Park. They're going to pick up trash throughout the city. They'll supply the gloves, trash bags, anything else you would need. And if you take a picture of yourself holding a bag of trash, you can go out to Culver's and they'll give you a free ice cream.
That starts in the park?
At Latham Park.
Latham Park, okay. All right.
Very much like the other, like Scott Turner's trash pickup for Earth Day.
Okay. And then that one piggybacks onto the next one Mr. Lander is going to tell you about.
Yeah, we have the drop-off citywide cleanup this Saturday at the Municipal Services Building. That is from 8 to 4 on Saturday. So take advantage of it, please, and get rid of all them big bulky items that you've been moving around or storing in your backyard. It's a great opportunity to be able to get rid of that stuff, and we'll also be accepting tires also.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have an announcement they'd like to make? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second? Second. Alderman Downs made the motion. Alderwoman O'Donohue second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 7:07 p.m.
So that